Right, so let's take a look today what we're going to do. I've been, I'll let you know, these dog legs are a little tougher to put on. So a lot of times, if you can save your old one, a lot of times it's better off. They do sell the repair section for below. I think they sell those at the funky green panel guy, Gerson. I call him Gerson, but it's actually classic fab now. So they sell, I think they sell those. I don't know if Wolfsburg has them or not. I didn't really check. But a lot of times where you end up with rust on these is behind here. So what I'll do a lot of times is if I'm going to save the dog leg, I'll cut this open, peel it back, treat everything inside, suck all the dirt out of it, peel it back, and then weld it back shut again. Little things like that. So they rust there. They rust in here in this area. And some people think, oh, you got to put the new one on, you know. Remember, the inside of these is raw metal right now before you do any work to it. So you got to try and get paint on that somehow. It's not, you know, so I take a spray can and I just shoot it in there best I can. But getting this part inside of here painted, you know, and then you're not going to get, probably not going to get any paint on that very much. Maybe just a little mist or something on there. That'll at least slow it down. So again, water goes in these are water drain holes. They go through these dog legs and come out the bottom. So if they're not painted inside there, they're going to rust out very quickly. So not that quickly. I mean, it'll take a few years. I mean, but people think, you know, well, I put new metal on there, it's okay. You know, it's not like it was when it was new again. So I got this thing kind of set in place. I had to repair this part. Let's look at the other side. I'll show you. This has not been repaired, so this is what they look like originally. This little piece is welded. You can see the tab on there. Had a little hole there. This one here, it's pretty solid, I'd say. Mine was rusted from the outside in, so I opened it up pretty far up here and made a. You can see this is kind of rounded, kind of rounds down. I made the same thing on the other side. You can see here that this is missing. And listen, if you're gonna, I would not cut one of these off unless it's really, really rotten. I mean, this one is so bad that it's way up here. So you know, there's no choice but for me to not save that metal. If yours are savable, if all it has is a hole in it, I would try and just repair it versus trying to put these on. We'll go over that right now. So like if you just have a little rust hole in there, repair the rust hole. That's what I would do on most of the time. Now, on this one, they're so bad that they were just, this is pretty much how they were. There was nothing left. So I had to weld a tab underneath because there's really no way to, there's no weld point there, you know. So these come like this and they go like this over here. These are pretty tricky to put on. Can't really put it on with one hand, but I need to get around the other side and show you. So this piece, but this piece is a repair piece. This edge is not exactly like that. It's not exactly like the other one. So it's a repair piece. It's kind of made kind of universal. So it doesn't have, you know, a weld point to all the way up to here. It's figured. They make this whole piece so you can cut out what you need. So a lot of people will think, well, I got to put in this whole piece right here. Honestly, if yours is rusty from the bottom up to here, you cut this in half. You don't put the whole thing in. You cut the new one in half and repair whatever part of it you need. I so happen to need the whole thing. So from what I can tell, I had to cut this out, which was really tough. There's several layers here. And from what I can tell, see if I got this right. This thing goes kind of like, I'm just going to put it up there. It goes kind of like that. Okay, I might almost have the dog leg out to do it. It goes like that, and then I believe that this lines up with the bottom edge. I don't recall exactly, but I think it does. Goes right from here to this bottom edge. which, like I said, this is a repair piece. It's not made to the exact specifications of the original. So if you look here, it's supposed to stick out a little bit. So if yours is missing, it's supposed to stick out. And then it looks like this from this angle. So it's kind of different. These dog legs are really tricky. So if you remember your bus, you know, like a regular car, you have a door jamb that's you know, flat. In a VW bus, it's angled out and it's round. So it's not flat straight. There's nothing straight on a VW bus. Everything's round. So making some of these parts is really tricky to do. So nothing is, you know, everything's kind of round, and it's angled outward like that. It's not straight. So this corner down here has some weird angles. So if you're missing this part, sometimes it's easier to buy these repair ones. Because if you look here, that's a really odd shape. I've made it before. I've just made, you know, usually it's missing this part and this part around the corner, and I've just made that part and then welded up from underneath, you know. You know, sometimes I got this much dog leg that's good, and there's this section that's bad, you know. It just all depends. Don't just rip your dog legs out because you think you need to, you know, there's one rust hole in it. It's better to try and fix what's there if you can most of the time. But every once in a while you get one that's this bad, and it's like, well, it's almost easier for me to take it off because I had to do stuff behind it too as well. So this is how this thing goes. Some of the parts don't fit. Let's get it down here on the ground and look at it. So this part right here might be a little off. You notice there's a wide gap here and it's up against here. So on mine, I'm going to have to rebend and cut like a little slit in the corner here and bend that up a little higher. And this little part, I'll probably just cut it right a little bit and bend it up. It's probably because I'm a little off on this, but maybe not, because this part's lined up and it's not that far off. We're talking about less than the 16th. Right here, you know, I'm going to put another piece of metal on here to bring that out a little bit, because I need this to be a little more lined up, and then I can feather this part in and make that probably work, I'm hoping. I don't know. I may have to, you know, put a slide hammer and pull that out a little bit to get to line. All right, so this part right here, if you notice, doesn't really fit in here. This corner is kind of rounded, and then this is a very sharp corner here. And maybe because this is not original, this is not an original part, or maybe they didn't make this correct. They just don't work together. You're not going to get something that just goes right together like that. Don't expect that to happen. So this part right here goes kind of like this. There's those weld tabs in the front. If you notice, I clean those up. Kind of goes like that. All right. And welds in place like that. And then the top edge, if you see here, doesn't have the same taper as it does up above. So that has to be made. Okay, so little things like that, I'll probably just slit the corners here. Slit it here, slit it there, and make it so I can kind of bend it in a little bit. You know, and like I said, these are made for you to cut and use whatever you need. So they're not made to just, you know, replace whatever's there. So you're better off if you got good ones. If it's 80% there, just don't cut them off. Use what you have and just work with the metal you have. Or cut off the piece of this part and use what you need. So that's kind of how that goes. So, but all this stuff has to be fitted. So you guys will see me in the fast motion go ahead and fit some of these parts together. I'm not sure which fast motion I'm going to use on it, but I'll probably do some of it in super high and then some of it in regular, so you can kind of see the process. It helps a little bit to get you guys through the whole thing so you can see what to do. And I also have to repair this part of the seat stand. I put this patch in here where that was. I just took a piece from underneath. It's all going to get filled and seam sealed, and then that gets a seat stand mat that covers all that stuff. So does it need to be like perfect? It's going to get a bunch of glue put all over it. As long as it's solid, that's what I'm looking for. All right, so I'm going to get started on this. We'll let you guys check it out. I'll talk to you when I run into something tough, and we'll figure it out from there. Alright, so here's what I got here. Got that thing on, and yet, man, I could swear I looked at that thing so carefully to make sure it was straight, and of course it's just a hair in. I can probably, it's so hard to get it lined up that I don't know if it's worth taking it off again or not. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do on that one. But what it does is it ends up with this area being off. I mean, you're always going to think about how that's going to affect stuff if you're going to leave something off. Is it going to make this panel here not line up? Probably not. I could just crimp this over and then fake this one in here. And then, so some people get freaked out about little stuff like this, and it's just part of the game here. So it's just a little tiny, maybe a 16th top and the bottom. Like I said, it's impossible to clamp it. There's no real place to put screws to hold it in place. I don't think it really would hold in place if I did, because you had to kind of butt weld the end in here. So I ended up without there. Plug welded those. I could have put a screw there, but I don't think that would have helped me at all. I had to butt weld this side in here, and that's how that looks. And then this little tab flips over, holds on there. So it comes straight out. You know, it's all meant for you to. It's actually looked like this little keyhole. See how this goes like this, and it goes in, it comes back out. That's what, if you buy the whole piece, it's like that already. So I think that's how it's supposed to go on there, but it's a little bit, I mean, hard to even see it from here, because you got, that's what I'm saying, it's got 3 or 4 different angles. You're looking at it one side, it looks right, the other side it looks wrong, and everywhere you're at a different, because the door opens at an angle that way and back at an angle, so, and it's round. So there's, you know, it's like, figure that one out, right? So anyway, can you see it when the floor's in? No. When the floor's in, you can't see this inner panel. So only cosmetic it's going to have is this edge, which could be faked in on the outer piece. See if you can see what I'm saying. Can you live with it? That's the whole thing. So this piece would be straight this way, and then this piece on the outer piece could be straightened out, you know what I mean? So I could put another, when I put the other piece on here, the lower nose piece, it could be, I could get it straight by crimping this part way over and then filling that a little bit. That's just the type of thing that I'm talking about. You can figure out. If you put this in a little bit crooked, it's when you have one that's like mine where it's that bad, it's really hard to fix. So no, I'm not saying it couldn't be perfect. You could cut it back off and do it again. That's up to you. But I'm just saying the kinds of things you run into. The Dogleg, they don't always form the same car, so you end up with, you know, it's lined up here. The line kind of goes in a little bit. Is that the door? You know, when I weld it, I can weld the corner in over here and kind of pull it out a little bit, open and shut the door as I'm doing it, and then make my spot welds, kind of straighten it out. And then the gap, you know, it's a little wide over here, a little narrow. You know, these things were VW buses. I mean, every one of them have had different gaps on these doors. But some guys are so fussy about it, they try and get everything like exactly perfect. But, you know, I'm not really into that. So I'm just trying to get it, you know, like I said, back to original. Not doing an uber original. Then the problem is this part right here. So I've got this thing, I'm going to have to raise that up a little bit, and then of course if you can see, you have to pull this out. I'm going to have to fight that one out to get that line to come in at this height, because everything's a little bit bowed for some reason. Who knows why? Which part it is, it's hard to tell. So when I weld this piece, I'm going to have to prop it out, screw it or whatever, and then weld it. It's going to take a while to do, but what I'm going to do is put a little piece of metal over this so that you can see that edge sticks way out, because I underlaid this piece, which is stronger for doing it that way. That's why I did it that way. I didn't want a butt weld right here. There's a butt weld right there, you know, on a pillar. That would be a no-no in a body shop. But a lot of guys do it, you know. So I say it's just as strong, but not in my day. But anyway, so I can lay a piece of metal over the top of this since I made this piece here. Not a big deal. And you know, if you were to do this the right way, if you were to use the repair panel, you could put a tab behind and drill a couple holes, and then spot weld it in here, and then do the same, you know, drill a couple holes in your new panel and put that tab in place, and then weld through and penetrate into that tab that's behind. That's the proper way to do a butt weld there if you were going to do it. Most guys don't do that, so just letting you know. But anyway, you do what you want to do. I'm just saying that's the normal right way to do it if you do whatever you want to do, but I'm going with this way. And then I'm going to put another piece over the top of this and kind of feather it down in here. I'll just put a piece on here, kind of fill that in, and then I'll decide what I'm going to do to bring this out to make it match up to it. I don't know yet. A lot of different options there. Could take the chisel, hit the top edge of this and knock it outward a little bit. And if that didn't, then that would kind of just bend that inner wall just a little tiny bit inside the channel there, which you would never see, and bring that out. Or I could try and hook onto the bottom of it, pull the whole thing out a little bit. A lot of different ways with one of these slide hammers. Kind of need a lot of these tools. These big slide hammers like that. You know, it all depends on whatever I need to do to get that to line up pretty good. You see the dog leg kind of turns and goes in. You know, those are the type of things when you get it done, you tweak it. So like when I go to put the floors in, I can bring it out like that. So if you see that's the line's a little off there, that's how you fix that one. It kind of brings this one up as you go. Kind of brings that one up a little bit more. So those are the ways that you do that kind of thing here. When your floors go in, everything, you have to line everything up. You have to move one piece at a time. So these are hard to put in. So I said if you can fix yours, it's a lot easier than trying to replace them. That's why I usually, you know, you can do a lot of work to a dog leg and have it work. And then when you put a new one on, you could spend probably more hours sometimes trying to line it up. So it just depends on the bus. All depends. And we'll get this thing done here in a little bit. I'm going to take you back off and prepare the areas for welding. And behind there, where it's raw metal, and this one cavity in here, it's got to be painted. Let's do that real quick. So I've already painted inside here. I'll put another coat on there just to block that out. And then I got to paint where this thing meets up over here. All the raw metal there. I'll do that real quick. Alright, I gotta grind everything too. Get this raw metal here. I gotta get this inner edge raw metal. And then as I put that on, I'm gonna actually form this as I go. So once I weld a spot here, and as I move, I'm gonna line it up. But I'm gonna fix that first right now, but it's gonna go ahead and grind everything. Alright, so I got this fender top edge clean, kind of just enough to get the weld to work. The inner edge here, I don't plug weld these because it's too hard to get a good plug on there if you just weakens it too much. So it's actually easier, you know, grind this side and then just edge weld, you know, overlap weld that. And then this end here, got that all cleaned up on this side. And again, on these here, I'm not going to try and plug weld those. I want to make sure I get a good weld. Sometimes when you plug weld, you think you got it and you didn't. So it's better to edge weld them a little bit. I think I'm going to go ahead and cut this piece in. I won't know where the exact edge to do the bottom yet because for some reason I didn't get my floors. I had my floors for the front, but I didn't get them. So I'll probably, maybe I'll put it in place first Weld that one in, I'm not sure. Gotta figure that out. Then I'm gonna weld that piece in. So I'll bring you guys back in. I'll just lap a piece. I'm just gonna throw a piece right on top of here. I'll cut up one for this right here, and I'll just put a piece on top of there, and that's it. Just so not to use too much filler. Alright, so this time I got my clamps already. I knew where my clamps go, so I already plug welded this spot. And I'm gonna weld this now. First putting the screw in on this side, and then I'm gonna put screws in over there, because I know I wanted to come up just a hair on this side, so those are all things I'm trying to do, and then make sure that this lines up. That's kind of thing I'm doing now. Let's give this a little weld here. One more. Just gonna edge weld that baby. Sucker's gonna get a little filler. Not gonna quite look exactly the way it did originally. Then I'll shut this door again. That came out okay. This is actually a pretty narrow gap. And again, when you finish all that, you really need to seam seal all those things, even the gaps there. People think that that's supposed to be open. It's supposed to be seam sealed behind there. Shove your seam sealer in, wipe it down real nice so it's a little bit of a groove. And then you can see there, it's getting pretty well lined up. This is pretty lined up right here. So I'm just getting this edge right first, because I know that the rest kind of falls in place. So I'm just kind of getting a few welds in here, and that's it. Then I'm going to put it the rest of the way in. Then I'll shut the door about 20 times while I'm doing this. Yeah, now we're lining up pretty good. There, the door isn't all the way shut. See, that gap is pretty nice. This comes out a little more. This comes out a little bit more right here. So as I get it set, you just kind of open and shut the door. Spot weld a few areas that you know are right. Open and shut the door until it's, and then just start tack welding everything. Right, we're looking good there. Welded it in. It's nice and tight. It's hard to tell because it's black in the groove, but look at it up close. You can see it's good. All these little button welds turned out pretty good. Nice and smooth down there. Looking pretty good there. Yeah, it's I'd say it's pretty good, not bad. I mean, you look at those lines down there. That's the only thing down there, but once I get the filler in there, and then I got a little bit of a dip right here because just fighting with that dog leg to get it to line up, making it do something it wasn't ready to do. And then if you look right here, when this is shut properly, the gaps are pretty good. Not perfect, but again, like I said, the vehicle wasn't perfect when it was new, so expecting it to be perfect is a lot more work than making it just the way it was. So yeah, I'm a little off on, like I said, on this one. Once I curl that around, I'll make that part go straight. So I'll have a straight line going straight up and down when I'm done. So that one's too hard to set. It's not far enough off to cut back off. It, you know, did its purpose, and you won't even see it when it's all done, because you're going to have the other metal that's going on there stacking the line. And I think actually maybe this dog leg is kicked out just a little bit too from the looks of the line here. That one on the bottom, the piece I put on, looks like it lines up better than the dog leg did. I don't know. I'm just going to make it look right when it's done, so that's all that matters, because that piece has another piece that wraps around the this lower nose. See, has this edge, and then there's a little piece that goes over the top of that. Or you can just, you know, weld the edge and grind it smooth, however you want to do it. So that's probably what I'll end up doing, just weld it, grind it smooth, because there's a piece I'm not going to have on there, so I'm not going to explain it all. But anyway, that's it for that. We're looking good. Just got to pull this out a little bit. Once I get the floor in, I think I need to tweak the whole dog leg. Is curled under a little bit. Needs to come out just a little bit to be straight up and down. I think that's how they go. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's supposed to kick out a little bit. These things are, you know, they get twisted a little bit when they weld them together in the factory. So that's your normal install there. It's not too hard. I mean, I'm gonna say it's not the easiest panel to put on, but it's definitely not the hardest thing I've done. I mean, some of the little stuff I'm doing, like this little stuff here. That thing was harder to put on. That little piece there was harder to put on the whole dog leg. You know, so anyway, but you just gotta be ready to open shut that door a bunch of times and watch the line and make sure it's not moving on you. And if it does, just drill out the welds and push it back where you want it to, and you know, all that stuff. I got the bottom edge, it's just a hair off there, if you can see it. I'll probably just fill that. It's just maybe it's about 1/8 out. Put a little bit of filler down there. I could knock the welds off the bottom too and then pull it back a little bit, weld it back on, it'd be fine, but I might just leave it like that. Good enough. That's all going to get filler in here. When I put filler on here, I scribe it with the knife, the lines, and then take a sandpaper and fold it, get it real nice and tight. So I sand them out, and then also sometimes I'll put seam sealer if I don't have filler in there. If it's not, if that crack isn't filled, it'll be filled. But then, you know, scribe so you can still see it. So it'll look like this, you know, like that when it's all done. Alright, talk to you guys in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe. Make your comments, good or bad, doesn't matter. Yeah, you know, as long as there's not stupid stuff, you know. If it's stupidly bad, doesn't make any sense, you might hear back from me on it. So, alright, talk to you in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe.